Good morning, folks. Welcome back to Wishwell Farms. My name's Jason, and today I am tackling a job that I have been putting off for nearly 4 years, and that is taking soil samples on our 60 acres of vegetable ground. So as you look out here behind our grape tomato greenhouse, this is probably a third of our acreage. I'm going to be driving our Polaris Ranger around and pulling soil samples. And then I'll have to drive about a half mile down the road to some of our other fields that we grow more sweet corn and green beans in that is not right here on my home farm. Now, some of you may be thinking 60 acres, that's just a couple samples. But a lot of my acreage is broken up into small plots. And from years and years of experience growing on these small plots, I know where vegetables do really well, and I also know some of the ground where they do poorly. So for example, maybe I'll have a 10-acre field that would really only be one soil sample. I mean, you pull samples throughout the field, but you throw it all together and mix it together, and it counts as one soil sample. So in the past, I have broken that up into 3 sections: a front, a rear, and a side section. And that field will be 3 separate samples just for that 10 acres. So let's go hop on the Ranger. I'll take you around, show you the process I use for pulling soil samples. And I'll also show you my spreadsheet that I kind of follow that shows you all of our fields. And I have all those numbered. And then I also have an overview, an overhead map of all of our fields. We'll get all these samples pulled and put them into bags, number them or label them. And then tomorrow I'll be dropping them off at our seed chemical fertilizer rep, and he will take it from there and get me some soil sample results so we know how much fertilizer needs applied to our fields for the 2025 growing season.
Many gardeners and farmers overlook soil health, leading to poor crop performance and wasted resources. But soil health is the foundation of a successful harvest. Soil sampling is the best way to know what is in your soil. And when you know what your soil needs, you can take corrective action to create a more fertile environment for your crops. By catching nutrient deficiencies or pH imbalances early, you can take action to prevent them from affecting your harvest.
So I'm currently out here standing in our 10-acre field that we normally have all of our raised beds and vegetables in. You can actually see our cauliflower and broccoli crop. It's still standing. I've still been enjoying that. And believe it or not, we're going to be harvesting some more again. My brother, Joel, has a harvest market in Dublin, Ohio, to sell more of his maple syrup and his freeze-dried candy, because he has a freeze-dried candy business. And since there's still some broccoli and cauliflower out there, I'm gonna harvest some of that here in about 3 days and send it with him Saturday morning to the harvest market. So the way I'm sampling this field, since I'm not gonna sample those beds just because there's a crop in there. I mean, I guess I could poke through the bed to get a couple samples. So I just kind of drive. I don't do any kind of GPS grid pattern type sampling. I just drive up and down the field. I'll pull maybe 2 samples out there, then I'll scoot over a couple acres, pull 2 samples, then drive down to this end. I kind of just do a zigzag. I go back and forth, and I pull about 2 samples on each pass that I drive down. So I've already pulled a few over here and over there. Now I'm getting ready to pull 2 on this side, and then I think I will go ahead and pull a couple either right out of the brassica crop or maybe right beside it where I worked up some ground. So this is my little handy dandy soil sample mechanism, whatever you want to call this. Little tube with an open slot on one side so you can get the sample out. So you just push it down in the dirt, sometimes give it a little twist, and you want to get at least 6 to 8 inches down. So probably about up into this area. That way you're getting a representative sample of where the plant is going to be mostly growing, its root structure. And then you just dump it into the bucket. You can see I have those little looks like little tubular pieces of dirt. I'll mix that all up, and then that will be one sample. So I'll probably be taking 12 to 15 plugs from each field, throw it in that bucket, mix it all up, and then pour it into one bag, and that will be one sample. All right, unfortunately my printer was out of ink this morning. I couldn't print off an updated clean sheet of paper, so I just wrote it all down right here. So here's my 2025 samples that I'm pulling. And the field we are in right now is 31 A, B, C, and D. but I'm putting A and B together. That's what I just sampled. And C and D is going to be together. That's what I'm getting ready to sample next. So this is from field 31 A and B. I want to mix that all together. It's still windy out here today, folks. I'm sorry. It's noisy and things are blowing around. So I don't have any soil sample paper bags. They kind of have like a waxed inside so they don't soak through the bags. So I'm just going to use some of our vegetable bags. And this is going to be sample 31 A and B. I'm just going to write 31 A and B. Oh, this darn wind. My goodness. Just going to crumble this all up, make sure it's mixed well. So it's kind of a representative sample. And we don't even need that much. But I'd rather give them too much than not enough, so I'll probably give them most of this. Just gonna dump it all in there right now. Yeah, I think I'll just leave it all in there. If they don't need it, they can throw it out. Tie it. We got one field done. Now we gotta go do all of these yet. It's gonna take a while. All right, I just sampled 31 C and D, more raised beds, and it's gonna be some early sweet corn as well. There's the dirt. (31 C D). And I'll throw all these bags in a box to hand them over to our consultant who's going to take care of this. I realize this is a very rudimentary, simplistic way of doing soil samples. Since I'm not using GPS, I just really never felt the need to on acreage this small. You know, we peaked at 80 acres about 8 or 10 years ago, and we're kind of only really growing about 55 now. So it doesn't take that long to just run around with the Ranger and pull from where I know crops do good and bad, and that helps me adjust how much fertilizer I'm putting out. But since it's been 4 years since I pulled samples, I kind of just been spreading blind, if you know what I mean. Just giving the crops the same thing they've needed back in 2021 when I pulled samples. Been doing that same thing for the last 3 years. So they may not be getting enough, or they may be getting too much and I'm wasting money. So definitely well worth spending the time to at least pull samples every other year.
When it comes to nutrients, there are several key elements to test for, including nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. These macronutrients are essential for plant growth, and deficiencies can have a significant impact on your harvest. You should also test for micronutrients like calcium, magnesium, and sulfur, which play critical roles in plant development. Interpreting the results of your soil test can seem daunting, but it's crucial for making informed decisions for your crops. By understanding the results, you can determine the types and amounts of fertilizers you need to apply. Your county extension office should be able to assist you in interpreting your soil sample results, and there's also a wealth of information online to help you determine what your soils may or may not need based on your soil sample results.
Man, I'm telling you what, this wind is almost making it impossible to work out here and to film. All right, I'm getting close to the end, about halfway done, I guess. So we're currently in field 9 and 10. It's all going to be sweet corn for the most part, maybe some soybeans if I run out of seed or don't need all the ground. So you can see I'm just making it into one sample, field 9 and 10, because it's all kind of together. Here's my map. I don't think I've shown you this yet. So we're currently right about at that number 9. So you can see how field 9 and 10 is really just all one big field. Field 8J is where Joel's garlic is. So we're directly above that right now to the north, about right there. Gotta do, these are all done. I gotta run over and do this field here. This is a rented field from our neighbors, field 29. And I don't have to do this one this year because me and Dad swap these every other year, so I get some rotation. So Dad has this field 8 this year, and it'll go into soybeans. So next year it'll be mine again, and it'll be back to sweet corn. And then he'll put beans where I had sweet corn this year. All right, field 9 and 10. We're gonna do 9/10. Dirt was a little hard in this field. I had to really push. It's just so dry out right now. We need some rain pretty bad. All of our fields are really dry right now. There is no moisture whatsoever, and it's making it really hard to push this down. I've had to like put all my body weight on it and twist and turn to get it down to 6 to 8 inches. Yes, some of our fields are a little tight. They could probably use some gypsum or lime, but for the most part, the reason that it's so hard for me to push that down deep is because it's so dry out. It's like pushing into rock. All right, I'm currently over here where Joel's garlic is. So he takes about a ½ acre. It's actually probably closer to an acre by the time you include drive trails. And right beside his garlic, I think you can probably see that over there, the black plastic. Right beside the garlic, I'm gonna have 8 rows of probably watermelon. Maybe cantaloupe, I'm not sure. But it's gonna be rotated over to this field because we've had some problems in our original vegetable field by my house. And then right here beside my melons, I got about 1.5 acres that's going to go into green beans. So I'm just going to sample this all as one field, I think. Gosh, my bucket keeps blowing away. It's so windy. Man, live. About to blow my camera over. Oh yeah, that's a lot softer. I can actually get a good deep sample there. Look at that. Good 8-inch core. Ah. My bucket keeps blowing away though. Gotta keep it up in the Ranger. All right, I just finished my last sample, field 29. And to be honest with you, I'm ready to get out of this wind. It's terrible. It's kind of laid down just a little bit right here. Not so bad, but bad enough. All right, just looking down through my list to make sure I didn't miss anything. We did 8J, that was by Joel's garlic. We did field 9 and 10 as one sample. That was the big one behind his garlic, or north of his garlic. 14 was by my grape tomato greenhouse. I did 15 A and B. That was behind all my greenhouses, and that dirt was hard as a rock. We're in the number 29 right now, Streebigs. That's the neighbors here. That's gonna be sweet corn and green beans here. 31 A and B was one. 31 C and D was one. Those are my main vegetable fields over by my house. And I did 33 all as one sample. I used to do a high, low, and then a little corner. That corner ground's really rich. No matter what I do there, I always get a good crop. So I didn't even sample it. We're just gonna sample 33 as one field. So yep, got it all done. And it looks like I'm gonna have 61 acres next year. That's not gonna all be in vegetables. Field 15 is gonna be soybeans because I've done back-to-back-to-back sweet corn in there. I do not wanna do 4 years in a row of sweet corn. That cannot be good for the soil or for the crop. So we're gonna rotate out of it. So that field looks like it's about 7 acres. So I'm only gonna have 54 acres next year, which is about right where I want it. So right here is a soil sample sheet that I got back from the samples I took in 2015 for the 2016 growing season. I've done it once since, but this one was readily available to pull out of my folder here. So you can see there's my fields all listed over there. I used to have a high tunnel that I'd take special samples out of just for the high tunnel. Guys, I'm sorry about this wind. There's nothing I can do about this. It's just terrible. I hope it's not so noisy you can't even hear me right. But this is the day I had to do this. It's gonna rain tomorrow possibly. And you can see it tests, there's my acreage. It tests organic matter. It uses the Bray method. I don't know a lot about that. I used to, but I haven't studied soil sample stuff for a long time. Potassium, magnesium, calcium, soil pH. You can see we have really high pH. And the CEC, I can't even remember what that stands for. I'll throw it up on the screen. And the percent base saturation of potassium, magnesium, and calcium. And I think this year I might have them do the micros. This one did not take micros. I want to know what my micronutrients are, and if they can, I'd like to know what my carbon levels are in my soil. So I'm going to request those to all be taken in addition to all these up here.
Ultimately, understanding your soil's unique composition is the key to maximizing your harvest. Soil sampling is a crucial step for any gardener or farmer looking to enhance their yield. By taking the time to sample your soil, you can unlock its full potential and reap the rewards of a bountiful harvest.
All right, soil sampling on my vegetable ground for the 2025 season is complete. Now, we do this totally different for our 1,300 acres of grain. We hire that out. They have specialized equipment that drive around our farm, taking the samples, and they use GPS, a grid pattern. Guys, I'm sorry about this wind. I apologize. I just can't win. If it's not the wind, it's trains and semis. It was bad today, 30 to 35 mile an hour gust, and it's continuing. But I think it's blowing in a cold front or something, or maybe some rain tomorrow. Anyway, the soil samples cost me $25 per sample. I ended up taking eight samples on my 60 or so acres of ground. Well worth the expense to potentially save me thousands and thousands of dollars in wasting fertilizer that may not be needed on all those acres. But if there are acres that are deficient, now I know, and I can add the proper amount and the proper type of fertilizer to best feed those plants. So I am curious how those of you who are farmers do your soil samples. How often are you taking them, and how do you do it? How much does it cost you? I should be doing it every other year, and I've been lazy about that. I've been doing it every 4 years. I haven't had any real issues. But I'm glad I got that done, and it seems like every time I do it, the ground is hard as a rock. You know, we had that drought this year. We did have a couple decent rains after the drought, but it's still bone dry out there. So it seems like every year, or every 40 years when I do this, the ground is like concrete when I'm trying to take those samples. But we got it done, and now we can move on to the next task. Anyway, this is where we're gonna wrap this one up today, folks. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and I'll see y'all again real soon down the farm.